Welcome viewers to My Startup TV. I am sitting in the premise of T Hub, and today I have with me Rakesh Munnanuroo, CEO of Whistle Drive. Welcome Rakesh, and thank you so much for your time.
Thank you so much for having me here.
Rakesh, my first question would be, you spoke about art of execution, right time and right place.
Right.
And to realize when to change your
Business
path,
model,
yes,
yeah.
or business model.
Right.
So for your own business, were you always planned about it and you were closely examining whatever is happening or the market situation, and that's why you could take the right decision at the right time, or how it happened?
Nobody can be planned for a global pandemic, obviously, but I think the idea of logistics was not completely new. I was thinking about it as to what is a possibility there. I've been a very huge e-commerce advocate since my engineering days, so I love e-commerce and the whole story around it. So I think logistics was a quick decision for us. For me particularly, because I believed that e-commerce would anyway boom because of the whole pandemic. If everyone is sitting at home, somebody has to deliver the products, right? So I think that was the reason we were able to quickly pivot. But I don't think you can plan for these events, but you have to trust your gut and just go with it. I would really give myself the credit of predicting how bad the situation would be. I assumed that the pandemic situation would last at least for 1.5 years, but lasted more than that. But because I took the worst case scenario and worked on it, we were able to quickly pivot and step into logistics from corporate transportation model.
Right. And as you were saying, to trust your instinct, to trust your gut.
Yeah.
Even during the session, you spoke about, less research,
Yeah.
less validation.
Yeah.
So we are seeing everybody wants, not only because there is a boom of startups in
Right.
India,
Right.
but with all kind of media information as well.
Right.
Everybody, starting from a school child to college graduate, everybody wants to be an entrepreneur.
Right.
So what do you suggest to all of them? Research, validation, or directly dive in?
Some part of research has to be involved, obviously, but the point that I was trying to make was that if you spend too much time, too much of your energy, too much of your effort into trying to understand if this would work or not, you're basically working on a lot of assumptions, and that assumptions could be right or wrong, I don't know. So you would rather give it a try, and if it works, it works, otherwise it won't. So that is the better strategy, is what I feel, especially for first time entrepreneurs, right? You don't know how to validate an idea. If there is someone who has worked on a couple of companies and they have success stories and all, they know the process.
Right.
But if you're a first time entrepreneur and you're trying to validate the idea, I don't know how to measure it. I don't know what parameters to consider when you're validating that idea. I think that's why I said, you should just jump into it and just go with it.
Right. Another recent scenario that what we have seen is recently a lot of startups had laid off their employees.
Yeah.
And on the other hand, a lot of employees have willingly resigned because they have been called back to their office, to work from office. So what do you think is the real situation? Are we laying off, or are we willingly resigning?
I think they're two different scenarios altogether.
Okay.
But startups, usually are fast growth entities. They are built for fast growth, and in the process of blitz scaling, as we call it, you hire more people than you actually require because you want to grow faster. But when you're trying to course correct and trying to get to reasonable numbers, I think that's when these layoffs happen, which is a byproduct of the fast growth. So I wouldn't really put startups at at a point where you would actually say that doing something wrong. It's not like that. But startups are meant to grow fast. So talking about the whole willingly resigning and all, I think I find it really silly. Because if your employer or if your company wants you to work along with other colleagues at the office, then you should give it a thought. So we have a very hybrid policy at work. We don't push employees to work from office all the time. We give them the flexibility to choose, but as a founder, I would personally prefer a lot of employees to work from office, especially given the scale we are at. So we're still in a very small tribe stage. We're 70 plus employees trying to get to 100. and the spirit of this team is going to stay intact if we meet each other, if we hang out more. It doesn't necessarily have to be a presentation and a business discussion. It could be as simple as having a coffee together, right? So that spirit has to be built. For large organization, which don't necessarily work together all the time, a decentralized mechanism would still work. But I am a strong advocate for a hybrid work situation. You should have the flexibility, but at the same time you should know who you're working with. Zoom, Teams is fine, but it's not as good as a one-to-one interaction.
Now, Rakesh, as a person who has seen growth in this whole startup ecosystem, I would like to understand that I've heard a lot of time, don't listen to your investors, listen to your business model, listen to your customers, but when your investor is giving you the fund, he or she is the kamdhenu, then how do you avoid listening to your investor?
It's a very symbiotic relationship, right? Investors want their companies to grow. Founders also want best things to happen for their companies. I don't think you should look at investors as someone external. They're as important to your company's growth as your employees, right? And it makes sense for you to listen to them and try and understand their perspective, because they look at they come with a macro perspective. So at the same time, you can obviously disagree on a few things in terms of strategy, because whatever you feel is best for the company is what you should do. But I think the whole communication should be extremely well managed. You wouldn't want to piss off your partners, because VCs are, or investors are, your partners as well.
Thank you so much, Rakesh. Thank you for your time, and thank you for speaking to My Startup TV.
Thank you so much.